Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to dive straight past the legend to discover the actual nuts and bolts mechanics of Thomas Alva Edison's world-changing success. I mean, we all know the name, right? We all know the light bulb, but today we're really going to lift the hood and look at the exact blueprint of how this legendary figure operated. You've probably heard this famous quote before, but it perfectly captures his completely unique relationship with failure. Most of us, we view failure as the total opposite of success. But for Edison, it was actually his greatest superpower. He didn't just tolerate failing, he actively used it as an instrument of discovery. And honestly, that method yielded absolutely incredible results. Just look at this number for a second, 1,093. That is the staggering amount of US patents he secured in his lifetime. And here's the thing, he didn't hit that milestone through these spontaneous magical bursts of inspiration. No way. He did it by literally industrializing the process of invention itself. To really understand how he pulled that off, we have to look at where he started. I mean, how did a homeschooled newsboy basically build the modern world? It's a pretty wild journey. Let's break down how a partially deaf teenager working on trains evolved into the ultimate architect of our technological age. The guy only had a few months of formal schooling. He just went ahead and set up a chemistry lab in his basement that literally shook his house, which I'm sure his parents were absolutely thrilled about. Later, when he was a newsboy selling candy on the Grand Trunk Railway, he just set up another lab right there in the baggage car of the train. He was always tinkering, always questioning, always pushing the boundaries. Section 1. The Wizard of Menlo Park. Myth versus reality. We all kind of picture Edison as this solitary wizard, right? Just pulling brilliant ideas out of thin air. But the reality was deeply rooted in extreme, gritty effort, structured problem solving, and managing a whole team of experts. He famously said genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. And for him, that wasn't just some catchy PR phrase. That was his literal daily operating procedure. We're talking grueling 18-hour workdays, running Monday through Friday and even bleeding right into the weekend. One of his own employees actually described the work as pushing the absolute limits of human exhaustion. So the magic was really just relentless, grinding hard work. Section 2. The power of failure, weaponizing mistakes. What's really fascinating is that Edison didn't just stumble into failure. He actively chased it down to map out new territory. To him, a failed experiment wasn't a dead end at all. It was just highly valuable data. In fact, he popularized a word that we literally use every single day in tech, a bug. Way back in 1873, he was already writing about setting bug traps to fix issues in his telegraph systems. His lab threw the term around constantly as they grinded through endless trials. These bugs were basically his constant companions, and resolving them, well, that was his actual day job. You can even see the incredibly human side of this struggle right in his own family's doodles. His 16-year-old nephew, Charles, actually drew these playful little sketches of literal insects labeled bug, bug, bug straight into the official lab notes. It perfectly shows just how deeply embedded these frustrating little bugs were in the culture and the daily grind of his laboratory. They were constantly wrestling with them. So the crucial takeaway here is how he actually weaponized those bugs. A brilliant example of this is the carbon microphone. Back in 1873, Edison suffered this incredibly embarrassing, very public failure while he was demonstrating an automatic telegraph. But instead of just packing it in and giving up, he used the exact knowledge from that specific failure to invent a variable resistor using carbon granules. And when that resistor also proved way too sensitive to vibration and failed its original purpose, well, he realized that exact sensitivity could be used to transmit voice. He literally turned a fatal flaw into a crucial component that finally made Alexander Graham Bell's telephone practical for long distances. Moving on to Section 3, the first invention factory, Menlo Park. Edison's greatest invention couldn't even be patented. It was his R&D lab. Built in 1876 in Menlo Park, New Jersey, this was the world's very first industrial research and development laboratory. This completely shatters that solitary inventor myth. Instead of tinkering alone in the dark, he assembled a highly specialized cross-disciplinary dream team to rapidly prototype and test out new ideas. He had Francis Upton doing the heavy mathematical lifting, John Crucy, his shop manager, actually building the models, John Ott, his master instrument maker, and Charles Batchelor running as superintendent. By applying factory-style mass production principles to the act of invention itself, they could all collaborate under one roof to rapidly research, develop, and manufacture. And this whole system, it resulted in an absolutely relentless pace. Get this. During his adult life, Edison averaged a brand new patent every 10 to 12 days. He evolved from his very first patent in 1869, which was a vote recorder, straight through to printing telegraphs, the seemingly miraculous phonograph in 1878, and then those world-changing incandescent lamps by 1890. It was quite literally a factory of innovation. Section 4. The underrated entrepreneur. More than just an inventor. Pop culture really loves to paint him as this naive, head-in-the-clouds tinker, but guys, Edison was a remarkably prolific businessman. He started over 100 businesses and partnerships. The historical record is super clear here. Edison intentionally managed his entire innovation process for highly practical, commercial success. He wasn't just throwing single products at the wall. He was literally laying the foundational bricks for entire industries. He helped kickstart the electric industry, the motion picture industry, and even the battery industry. His focus was relentlessly on practical application, which is perfectly summarized by his own motto, "There's a better way to do it, find it." Actually, this intense commercial focus was driven by one of those early failures we talked about. Remember that 1869 vote recorder? Well, Washington congressmen were completely, utterly uninterested in it. It was a massive commercial flop. But that flop taught Edison a harsh, vital lesson that he never forgot. Only invent what people will actually buy. Which brings us to Section 5, War of the Currents, the corporate battleground. That intense commercial drive eventually pushed him right into a fierce, all-out corporate battle. Let's look at the two sides of this power struggle. On one side, we have Edison forcefully championing his direct current, or DC system. It was low voltage, specifically designed for safe indoor incandescent lighting. But on the other side, we have George Westinghouse pushing alternating current, or AC. By utilizing transformers to step down those high voltages, Westinghouse's AC system could efficiently transmit power over much, much longer distances from large central generating stations. The resulting conflict was incredibly intense. We are talking major safety panics whipped up over high-voltage AC lines and exhausting, incredibly expensive patent lawsuits that were just bleeding cash from everyone involved. This massive corporate war only ended in 1892 when powerful financiers, including the legendary J.P. Morgan, stepped in and engineered a merger between Edison's company and his chief AC rival, Thomson Houston. This merger formed General Electric. But the catch? It effectively removed Edison from control and even dropped his name from the company entirely, closing out this huge corporate struggle with a clean financial takeover. Section 6. The Blueprint of Modern Innovation. Even after stepping back from GE, Edison's core methodologies had forever changed how the world approaches innovation. He just kept right on working at a massive new facility in West Orange, New Jersey, proving that his true, lasting legacy was the process itself. And he never, ever stopped turning failure into opportunity. Get this, he once poured an absolute fortune into an attempt to enrich iron ore using electromagnets. It was a complete disaster. He lost the equivalent of $300 million in today's money. But, ingeniously, he took those specific failed ore processing inventions and pivoted them into a revolutionary new method for mass-producing Portland cement. He took a catastrophic financial failure and transformed it into a commercial triumph that helped literally build 20th century construction. Edison once observed that many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. And honestly, that mindset is the absolute most crucial point you should take away from this explainer today. His greatest legacy isn't just the light bulb or the phonograph or the movie camera. It's the modern R&D lab itself, an institution built entirely on a rock-solid foundation of tenacity, structured trial and error, and dedicated teamwork. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Knowing that real, world-changing innovation isn't about some magical, spontaneous spark, but rather an engineered process of structured failure and collaboration, what is stopping you from inventing your future today? Seriously, are you just waiting around for a light bulb moment? Or are you ready to start building your own Menlo Park? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this sparks some amazing new ideas for your own projects.